The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He has me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He guides me on paths of righteousness. He revives my soul for the sake of his glory. Though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no harm, for you are with me. Your staff and your rod do comfort me. You set a table in sight of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. I shall abide in the house of the Lord forever. Friends, when we confront death of a beloved one, we become conscious of time's steady flow. We plead, as did the psalmist, Limnot yamenu ken hodam, benavi levav chochma. So teach us to number our days, that we may get us a heart of wisdom. And yet how can one number one's days wisely? Is a simple total of the days we spend in the world really significant? There are people who live their lives whose years will well exceed the proverbial 70, but when they die, only a death sentence in the paper serves to let the world know that that person lived. No, it's not simply the number of days that one lives that's noteworthy. Significance lies rather in the use that one makes the time one is granted. It's to experience what life has to offer, its sorrows and its joys, its frustrations and its achievements. To become deeply involved in the lives of others, to give freely of one's love and affection, to feel oneself loved and appreciated, is to live wisely. Then, when one's hour has come, one is left behind a legacy of memories to be treasured by children, grandchildren, siblings, and other honored family and friends. When one has lived such a life, she can be grateful that God has granted her a heart of wisdom, so that she might fill her days with significance. Eddie Adler, who is affectionately known as Edie, was blessed with a heart of wisdom. Her life had consequence and significance to her family, to her friends, and to her community. Born 92 years ago and raised in Manitoba by parents who were refugees from Ukraine and Germany, she experienced at a very early age the hard Scrabble life growing up on her father's farm. Her life as a child was hard, it was tough, it was challenging. But the world of agrarian living instilled in Edie a deep work ethic, a strong sense of working assiduously and diligently for one's family. She grew to become an industrious, persevering, indefatigable, and hard-working adult. Fred and Edie were a remarkable team. They were each other's co-pilots, building together a wonderful home for Brock and Alexis. She was the true matriarch of the Adler family. When she wasn't helping Fred run their jewelry business in Seattle, she was caring for the two of them. And then when her grandchildren came along, she became as devoted and loving. Tough and supportive, she was the best role model. Seattle's Jewish community was also a very lucky recipient of her attention and support. When Fred was president of Herzl Ner Tamid, Edie served ably as his first lady, standing both behind and beside him in every way as he provided leadership for our congregation. She also threw herself into the work of our Women's League, which then was known as Sisterhood. The two of them were deeply and widely involved with the Aleph Bet, the ABC of the Seattle Jewish community. Edie worked devotedly to help resettle Soviet Jews who arrived in our community during the 70s and 80s. She was also a passionate Zionist and supporter of the State of Israel. Along organized AIPAC trips to Israel for Washington State's congressional delegation, and they lobbied our members of Congress on behalf of AIPAC and for a strong U.S.-Israel relationship. Edie loved traveling the world with Fred, visiting exotic and far-flung destinations. She loved traveling to cities like London, Paris, and Rome. Did I mention Paris? She absolutely loved Paris. But I have a feeling that her heart and her soul were tugged by and felt most at home in places like Tel Aviv, Haifa, and Jerusalem. I'd like to conclude with the words of a poet, U. Robert Orr, which speak of the everlasting nature of those who are now gone, but who really live forever. They are not dead who live in hearts they leave behind. In those whom they have blessed, they live a life again, and shall live through the years eternal life and grow each day more beautiful, as time declares their good, forgets the rest, and proves their immortality. Edie will always live on in your hearts. May she rest in peace. Let us all say, Amen. I'd now like to invite Edie's daughter, Alexis, to share her words with us.
Well, thank you for everybody for coming and your condolences. Edie, your Bubba, to her grandkids, and everybody, was a thoroughly modern woman. You know, she traveled the world like nobody else could have. She's been so many places. She knew the meaning of hard work growing up on the grain farm in Manitoba. It was a harsh, you guys know, her brother and sister here, how tough it was. The harsh conditions during the Depression and World War II were always with her. She after growing up, she left. She moved to northern Manitoba, taught school, and then followed her sister Rosetta out to Vancouver. She wanted to be an urban person, leaving the farm behind. And that's where she met my dad, who was so in love with her. Well, they didn't make good bridge partners, I would say. They did make great business partners and partners. And they both enjoyed fashion together, along with her dad's partner Henry and my brother Brock. And they traveled the world, from the political activities in Israel to Asia and India and Australia. And my mom grew to love France and Paris. And she said her favorite trip actually was this barge trip that you guys took. And they were there on their 50th wedding anniversary, my dad and mom. And that's where my dad passed away. Edie continued to travel, switching to cruises, and her first trip post-dad was to Cuba. And she came with us to the Grand Canyon. She didn't stop, and she was traveling up the Yangtze River and Panama Canal. She would disappear for months. She was in Myanmar and Africa and through the Straits of Magellan. She was just telling me about the Straits of Magellan. Who's been there? My mom. She also came to visit us in New York, which was great. My kids and my friends loved her, and she was always staying in stylish hotels, and everybody just loved visiting her there. And we also loved visiting her on Whidbey Island, and she loved to walk the beach at low tide. Mom loved flowers, which I share with her, and Whidbey Island. And in fact, we shared so much. She was the best mom. She came from a large, loving family, the Dashevskis and Shores, and her loving parents, Grandma and Grandpa, and her 7 siblings. All life was centered on the farm. I was talking to one of my cousins, and we were talking about how amazing the farm was. Laura, you remember too. And they grew up tough, but loving. And like my son said, Max, he said, you could talk to her about anything, but now we can't. Really, Mom, the best person. Thank you.
Please rise for the Adler Memorial Prayer.
El Malay Rachamim Shochen Bamromim Hamtzei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei HaShechina B'ma'alot Kedoshim Tohorim Kezohar Haraki Amasirim Lenishmat Haisha Edet Bat Yehuda Halevi Ufraina Shehalcha Leolama Began Eden Temenuchata Ana Balarachamim Hastireha Beseter Kirafecha Leolamim Utzror Bitrachaim Nishmata Adonai Hu Nachalata V'tanuach B'shalom al Mishkava V'nomar Amen.
El Malay-Rachamim, O God, exalted and full of compassion, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure, to the soul of Eddie Adler, who has gone to her eternal home. Master of mercy, we beseech you, remember all the worthy and righteous deeds she performed in the land of the living. May her soul be bound to the bond of life. The Lord is her portion. May she rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. If you please be seated for a moment. We're now going to make our way from the chapel to the grave. As you all can feel, it's very, very warm today. It's even hotter and warmer outside. So we want everyone to be very careful, especially those of you who might be a bit older, of the excessive heat. We're going to follow the casket to the grave. We're going to lower the casket, and the immediate family will begin by putting earth on Edie's casket. We'll all have the opportunity to do so following them. We're going to try to fill in around the sides of the casket, and then we're going to place a layer of earth on top. When you use the shovel, it's tradition to first turn the blade of the shovel upside down Place one spadeful of earth on, and then turn the shovel right side up and place additional earth on the casket. Instead of handing the shovel to the person behind you when you're done, please return it to the mound of earth. I'd like to invite those who are serving as pallbearers to please join us at the front of the chapel.
Stop 7 times to show our hesitancy.
Please rise.
Thank you.
Sweaty. Since I quit water, I lost about 15 pounds.
wird sein, wo's 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 wird sein. Not of thee, not of thee, not of thee, ich kann verlassen, not of thee, ich kann verlassen. Wo's wird sein, 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 wo's wird sein. Not of thee, not of thee, not of thee, ich kann verlassen, not of thee, ich kann verlassen. Kam ki ay laich begayts al moves loy loy yiro ki ya to yimodi vos vetzay vos vetzay vos vetzay vos vetzay loy loy yiro ki ya to yimodi vos vetzay vos vetzay vos vetzay vos vetzay loy loy yiro ki ya to yimodi vos vetzay kam ki ay laich begayts al moves Dus wird sein, loi loi, ruki atu yimodi. Ay, wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein? Wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein? Not of thee, ich kann verlassen, not of thee, ich kann verlassen. Wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein? Wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein? Not of dir, not of dir, not of dir, ich kann verlassen, not of dir, ich kann verlassen. Tamki ya yelai, begayts al moves, lo yiruru, kiratu yimudi. Dus wird sein, dus wird sein, dus wird sein, dus wird sein, lo yiruru, kiratu yimudi. Dus wird sein, dus wird sein, dus wird sein, dus wird sein, lo yiruru, kiratu yimudi. Ay, wo's wird sein, gam ki ay laich begayts al moves, dus wird sein, loy loy yiruru ki ato yimodi. Wenn a Mensch ist in eins zurem, fragt was Schäfer, wo's wird sein? Ihnen ist ich mechazek, af loy loy yiruru ki ato yimodi. Kam ki ay laich begayts al moves, loy loy yiruru ki ato yimodi. Wo's wird sein, loy loy yiruru ki ato yimodi. Kam ki ay laich begayts al moves, loy loy yiruru ki ato yimodi. Wo's wird sein, loy loy yiruru ki ato yimodi. Dus wird sein, dus wird sein, dus wird sein, dus wird sein, loy loy yiruru ki ato yimodi. Wo's wird sein, gam ki ay laich begayts al moves. Dus wird sein, loy loy yiruru ki ato yimodi. Wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein? Wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein? Not of thee, not of thee, not of thee, ich kann verlassen, not of thee, ich kann verlassen. Wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein? Wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein? Not of thee, not of thee, not of thee, ich kann verlassen, not of thee, ich kann verlassen. Kam ki ay laich begayts al moves, loy loy yiruru ki ato yimodi. Wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein, loy loy yiruru ki ato yimodi. Dus wird sein, dus wird sein, dus wird sein, dus wird sein, loy loy yiruru ki ato yimodi. Wo's wird sein, kam ki ay laich begayts al moves. Dus wird sein, loy loy yiruru ki ato yimodi. Ay, wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein? Wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein? Not of thee, ich kann verlassen, not of thee, ich kann verlassen. Wo's wird sein, nice zu reden. Fragt der Wascheffe, wo's wird sein? Ihnen ist ich mechasek, auf Leute Jiru, ki atu Yimudi. Gam ki ayelaich begait al muves, loi Jiru, ki atu Yimudi. Wo's wird sein, loi Jiru, ki atu Yimudi. Gam ki yayla begait al muve. Dus vetain, loy yiru ki yaku yimudi. Wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein? Wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein? Not of thee, ich kann verlassen. Not of thee, ich kann verlassen. Wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein? Wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein? Wo's wird sein? Not of thee, ich kann verlassen. Not of thee, ich kann verlassen. Gam ki ayelaich begait al muves, loi yiru ki atu Yimudi. Wo's wird sein, loi yiru ki atu Yimudi. Dus wird sein, loi yiru ki atu Yimudi. Wo's wird sein, gam ki ayelaich begait al muves. Dus wird sein, loi yiru ki atu Yimudi. Wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein? Not of thee, ich kann verlassen. Not of thee, ich kann verlassen. Wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein? Wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein? Not of thee, ich kann verlassen. Not of thee, ich kann verlassen. Am ki ayelaich begait al muves, lo yiru ki atu Yimudi. Dus wird sein, lo yiru ki atu Yimudi. Dus wird sein, lo yiru ki atu Yimudi. Wo's wird sein, gam ki ayelaich begait al muves. Dus wird sein, loi yiru ki atu Yimudi. Wenn a Mensch ist in eins zu reden, fragt der Wascheffe, wo's wird sein? Ihnen ist ich mechasek, auf loi yiru ki atu Yimudi. Gam ki ayelaich begait al muves, loi yiru ki atu Yimudi. Wo's wird sein, loi yiru ki atu Yimudi. Gam ki yayla begait al muves. Dus wird sein, loi yiru ki atu Yimudi. Wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein? sein, was wird sein, wo's wird sein. Nur auf dir, nur auf dir, nur auf dir, ich kann verlassen. Nur auf dir, ich kann verlassen. Kam ki ayelaich begaiz al muves, loy loy yiroro ki yato yimodi. Vuz betzayin, vuz betzayin, vuz betzayin, vuz betzayin, loy loy yiroro ki yato yimodi. Dus betzayin, dus betzayin, dus betzayin, dus betzayin, loy loy yiroro ki yato yimodi. Vuz betzayin, kam ki ayelaich begaiz al muves. Dus wird sein, loi loi giruki atu yimodi. Ay, was wird sein, was wird sein, was wird sein? Was wird sein, was wird sein, was wird sein? Not of dir, ich kann verlassen, not of dir, ich kann verlassen. Was wird sein, was wird sein, was wird sein? Was wird sein, was wird sein, was wird sein? Not of dir, not of dir, not of dir, ich kann verlassen. Not of dir, ich kann verlassen. Ampi ayelai, begaiz al muves, lo yiroro, kiratu yimudi. Dus wird sein, dus wird sein, dus wird sein, dus wird sein. Lo yiroro, kiratu yimudi. Dus wird sein, dus wird sein, dus wird sein, dus wird sein. Lo yiroro, kiratu yimudi. Ay, vos wird sein, gam ki aylaich begaiz al muves. Dus wird sein, loy loy yiruru ki ato yimodi. Wenn a Mensch ist in eis zurem, fragt was Schäfer, vos wird sein. Jeder ist sich mechasek, als loy loy yiruru ki ato yimodi. Gam ki ayelaich begaiz al muves, loy loy yiruru ki ato yimodi. Vos wird sein, loy loy yiruru ki ato yimodi. Gam ki ayelaich begaiz al muves, loy loy yiruru ki ato yimodi. Vos wird sein, loy loy yiruru ki ato yimodi. Dus wird sein, dus wird sein, dus wird sein, dus wird sein. Loy loy yiruru ki ato yimodi. Vos wird sein, vos wird sein. Gam ki aylaich begaiz al muves. Dus wird sein, dus wird sein. Loy loy yiruru ki ato yimodi. Was wird sein, wo's wird sein? Was wird sein, was wird sein, wo's wird sein? Not of dir, not of dir, not of dir, ich kann verlassen. Not of dir, ich kann verlassen. Was wird sein, was wird sein, wo's wird sein? Was wird sein, was wird sein, wo's wird sein? Not of dir, not of dir, not of dir, ich kann verlassen. Not of dir, ich kann verlassen. Kam ki ayelaich begaiz al muves, loy loy yiroro ki ato yimodi. Vos wird sein, vos wird sein, vos wird sein, vos wird sein. Loy loy yiroro ki ato yimodi. Dus wird sein, dus wird sein, dus wird sein, dus wird sein. Loy loy yiroro ki ato yimodi. Vos wird sein, kam ki ayelaich begaiz al muves. Dus wird sein, loy loy yiruru ki ato yimodi. Ay, vos wird sein, vos wird sein, vos wird sein. Vos wird sein, vos wird sein, vos wird sein. Not of dir, ich kann verlassen, not of dir, ich kann verlassen. Vos wird sein, vos wird sein, vos wird sein. Vos wird sein, vos wird sein, vos wird sein. Not of dir, not of dir, not of dir, ich kann verlassen. Not of dir, ich kann verlassen. Ampi ayelaich begaiz al muves, lo yiruru ki ato weiß zu fragt der Schäfer, wo's wird sein? Jene wie sich mechazek, als loi lo yiru, ki atu yimudi. Gam ki ayelayr begait al muves, loi lo yiru, ki atu yimudi. Wo's wird sein, loi lo yiru, ki atu yimudi. Begeit al move Dus wird sein, oi dus wird sein Loi, loi, hiru, ruki, yaku, yimudi Wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein Wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein Not of thee, not of thee, not of thee, ich kann verlassen. Not of thee, ich kann verlassen. Wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein? Wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein? Not of thee, not of thee, not of thee, ich kann verlassen. Not of thee, ich kann verlassen. Kam ki ayelaich begait al muves, loi lo yiroro, ki atu yimudi. Wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein Loi, loi, yiruruki, atu yimudi Dus wird sein, dus wird sein, dus wird sein, dus wird sein Loi, loi, yiruruki, atu yimudi Wo's wird sein, wo's wird sein Kam ki dai lai begait salmo vuves Dus wird sein, dus wird sein Loi, loi, yiruruki, atu yimudi Wo's wird sein, wo